If you had walked by Oliver Anthony in a grocery store in Farmville, Virginia, even as recent as a month ago, you wouldn't have recognized him. In fact, you might have even avoided him because the odds of him being hungover from a night of drinking too much or getting high were pretty high odds. No pun intended. Hi. Oliver Anthony does not come from money, and I'm going to go into some of the conspiracies around him later in this podcast, but it's clear that he does not come from money. In fact, his pinned photo on his Instagram account is a picture of his grandfather as a child with his mother, his father, and his 7 siblings living in Raccoon Valley in the Appalachian Mountains. He describes how they, quote, grew up with dirt floors, how everyone grew up on dirt floors. Just a bunch of kids and a couple of old dogs. Now, even though Oliver Anthony doesn't have dirt floors, I'm assuming, in his farmhouse, he does have a couple of dogs himself, and he's still very outdoorsy, just like his family was growing up in the mountains. In fact, he lives on 90 acres of farm property. There's been some confusion about if he is from the Appalachia region or not. He is very open and honest. His Facebook says that he lives in Farmville. He's not posing as someone who lives in the mountains, but there's a lot of scrutiny and even, I would say, a conspiracy theory that he's a fraud, that he has a lot of money. He doesn't need to do this. He's posing as a working man. But let's be very clear. 90 acres is not big enough. It's not enough land to make a real cash flow out of that. And if you go on his YouTube channel, he has videos on his property where he's exploring his 90-acre property. This is just a very versatile property. It's not like it's open farmland where he's growing crops or anything like that. He does say that he wants one day to have livestock on his farm. He's not there yet. That is just a dream that he has, and one day he wants to fulfill. What we do know is that he worked in a factory for several years, and it was during his time working in the factory that he wrote the song Richmond, North of Richmond. Oliver started consistently writing music in 2020 when the lockdowns started. His first video was posted on his YouTube channel 3 years ago, and it was a cover of Tyler Childers' song Lady May. That song to date only has 6,500 views, but would be the start of something he couldn't even imagine. Now, for a few years, it looks like he was kind of on and off of YouTube, and he lacked direction. Soon after posting his Tyler Childers cover, he posted another cover, The Ballad of Curtis Lowe. Now, right after that, he posted his third cover on YouTube. Now, these videos only got a couple thousand views, and he didn't post another video for about 2 years. Then, in 2022, he resurfaced onto YouTube. He came back singing Rich Man's Gold in a wooded area on his property. Now, you can tell that his YouTube kind of lacked direction because after posting a few covers and songs, the next couple of videos were just kind of regular videos of his life living on his property with his dogs playing in a swimming hole. The title of his video after Rich Man's Gold was, quote, German Shepherds Playing by the Creek, Memorial Day 2022. But then 11 months ago, he posted several videos in a row. He wrote the song Ain't Got a Dollar. After that, he posted another cover. This time it was in color. For the last 12 months, he has consistently posted on YouTube his original songs as well as several covers. During these years where he's posting on and off on YouTube, and even in the last year where he's posted consistently, his mental health was really struggling. Like I said, he was a working man in a factory, and like everybody else, he saw the worth of his dollar going down and down and down. The prices at the grocery store started going up, gas prices started going up, and everyone I know, even myself included, we've had to make adjustments in the last few years to the way we live our lives. People deal with stress in different ways, and for Oliver Anthony, after working long hours in the factory, just to reflect on how hard it was to get ahead, he started using alcohol and weed as a form of escapism. Now, anyone who has a problem with alcohol or with anything knows how bad you feel after using it. There's this high followed by an incredible low. In those low moments, Oliver Anthony knew that he had to change his life. Now, for years, Oliver Anthony was agnostic. He didn't believe in a higher power. He certainly didn't believe in God. And he describes himself as angry during that time. In the last 12 months, as he started posting more consistently on YouTube, he realized that music was the healthiest form of escapism that he could find. I think that something inside of him knew that there was more to this life than just sitting on the couch, being high and being drunk. Now, somewhere in these 12 months, Oliver Anthony found God. He picked up a Bible and started reading some Bible verses. He started contemplating if there was a higher power, what that higher power might look like, what it might act like, and how it could impact someone's life. He started exploring Christianity and exploring these possibilities, and he started doing something he had never done before. He started praying. About 2 months ago, Oliver Anthony had a night where he was crying on the floor, on his knees, begging God for help. He was trying to get sober. He didn't want to be high. He didn't want to be drunk. He didn't want to be hungover. But it just seemed like a cycle that he couldn't get out of. Oliver Anthony thought, I don't have any other resources except God at this point. So in this moment, he's on his knees crying, and he says to God, God, if I can overcome this, help me follow my dreams. Now, on the 30th day of Oliver Anthony's sobriety, he got a call from a local radio station offering to record one of his songs on what Oliver Anthony described as a, quote, real camera and real microphone. Now, this radio station is notorious for scouting talent in the Appalachia Mountain area. That's kind of their whole mojo, and they're not the only radio station who does this. In fact, most of the people that Oliver Anthony is being compared to, like Tyler Childers, I think I'm saying his right, Childers, they were discovered in a similar manner. A radio station like WV found them and decided to record a really nice cover of them. You know, they used their equipment, they posted on their YouTube, and these people gained traction from that exposure, traction that they never would have had before. So Oliver Anthony is very excited at this opportunity. He's expecting maybe 20,000 new followers. You know, I think they average 20 to 40,000 views on the WV's YouTube channel per video, something like that. So on the day that the video was about to be posted onto the WV's YouTube channel, Oliver Anthony posted an introduction video on his YouTube saying who he was and kind of a welcome to any new fans who would find him from the WV's posting.
Well, hey, it's August the 7th, 2023. And as of this recording, tomorrow on Tuesday, RadioWV is going to upload the debut of Richmond, North of Richmond. And it's going to be the first song to get out there that's been recorded on a real microphone and a real camera, and not just on my cell phone. And Lord willing, it's going to get some traffic, and maybe at least a few of you are going to drift your way over here. And I thought I'd have kind of an introduction video on what it is I'm aiming to do here.
Now, like I said, I think he was really just imagining a couple thousand people, you know, maybe 20,000 at most. But what would happen next would not only surprise Oliver Anthony, but it would surprise the radio station too, because this radio station has never had this kind of traction before. Within 2 days of posting Oliver Anthony's song, Richmond, North of Richmond, the video had garnered over 2 million views. Within a week, it had risen to 8 million views. As of today, it's over 10 million views on this video. Now, Oliver Anthony already had a concert, quote unquote, a show planned at the Morris Farmers Market. This is a local farmers market where, you know, maybe 100 people would come on a regular farmers market day. Back in June, Oliver Anthony played at this farmers market to 20 people. But on August 13th, 2023, people were flying in from other states and driving hours and hours from out of town to come to the Morris Farmers Market to see Oliver Anthony play. The crowd ended up covering 25 acres of land, and the meet and greet after the show lasted over 4 hours. Oliver Anthony opened the show with a Bible verse.
Just had something I felt compelled to share with you. This is in Psalm 37, 12 through 20. The wicked plot against the righteous and gnash their teeth at them, but the Lord laughs at the wicked, for he knows their day is coming. The wicked draw the sword and bend the bow, to bring down the poor and needy, to slay those whose ways are upright. But their swords will pierce their own hearts, and their bows will be broken. Better the little that have righteousness than the wealth of many wicked. For the power of the wicked will be broken, but the Lord upholds the righteous. The blameless spend their days under the Lord's care, and their inheritance will endure forever. In times of disaster, they will not wither, In days of famine, they will have plenty. But the wicked will perish. Though the Lord's enemies are like the flowers of the field, they will be consumed, and they will go up in smoke.
Jamie Johnson also showed up at this show, and Oliver Anthony asked him to come on stage to sing his song In Color with him. Just 11 months ago, Oliver Anthony was posting a cover of the song In Color on his YouTube channel, and now he's singing it live with Jamie Johnson. It's just incredible. Now, by August 12th, just a week after posting this video, Oliver had to update his Facebook immediately to redirect all of the press inquiries to an email address that was different from his own. He was overwhelmed with the response, obviously. On August 14th, Oliver posted another video to his YouTube channel called Moving Forward. In the video, he discusses how imperative it is that we as a country bottle this energy and recognize that we are all united. We have the same problems. We have the same goals. Hopefully, most of us have the same goals, unless there's a straight up communist in the room, They've got different goals, but most of us have the same goals. Most of us have the same problems, and most of us are on the same page. Now, of course, with Oliver Anthony's success, there has come a lot of scrutiny and even, dare I say, conspiracy theories. One conspiracy theory that is sweeping across the internet right now is the idea that he is an industry plant. Now, what people mean by that is a record label has him secretly signed already and is pushing him in this way to make it appear as though he's just a nobody from, the Appalachian Mountains who just came down and wowed everyone with his singing and his guitar playing. If you haven't seen my Roots documentary on the story behind the song, The Devil Went Down to Georgia by the Charlie Daniels Band, that song, it's about Johnny coming down and playing the fiddle with the devil. That song was actually written about a man who came down from the Appalachian Mountains. This is a true story. He came down from the Appalachian Mountains and joined a fiddling contest down in town. This was in the 1920s. Now, fiddling contests are extremely political. If you are part of any type of sport or any type of, extracurricular activity, there's always the one rock star, right? Who's at every competition, who's at every contest. That person seems to win all the time. It's the same people over and over. So it was that way in the 1920s with these fiddling contests when this little boy who his father taught him how to fiddle, his name was Lo Stokes. He came down from the mountains, joined a fiddling contest out of nowhere, and absolutely blew everyone away. He won the contest and went on to win regionals. He went on to be, the regional champion. Then he started entering national fiddling contests and winning those. Lo Stokes went on to be this country's greatest fiddler during his time, and that was, I think, in the 1920s. There was a poem that was written after Lo Stokes had come down and won that fiddling contest. Before Lo Stokes had become famous, someone in town who was a poet was reading a news article about this kid who came down and just wowed everyone. So that poet ended up writing a poem called The Mountain Whippoorwill. The Mountain Whippoorwill is pretty much verbatim, The Devil Went Down to Georgia. There are actually exact excerpts in The Mountain Whippoorwill that are in the lyrics of the song The Devil Went Down to Georgia. Like the devil jumping up on a hickory stump. The devil jumped up on a hickory stump and said, "Boy, let me tell you what." So go ahead and check out that video if you're interested in the true story behind The Devil Went Down to Georgia, that song, and the poem The Mountain Whippoorwill, and Lo Stokes, because it's virtually the same scenario as Oliver Anthony. But people are refusing to believe that. First of all, they're criticizing him, saying he's not from the Appalachian Mountains, which he never said he was. His family is. He has been very honest about living in Farmville. He's never said that he lived in the mountains or anything like that. So people are scrutinizing him for that. And they are also saying that they just don't believe that this is happening. They think that he's an industry plant, that a record label orchestrated all of this. But let me tell you something. I think that record labels do try to do certain things like this, but they generally don't explode in this manner. For something to explode like this, for these pieces to come together in this way, that's not something that you could pay someone to do. This is something that is truly, in my opinion, again, only attributed to divine intervention. Like nothing else can really do this. No paperwork would produce this. No amount of money would produce this. This truly is just the work of God. People are also saying that he is a fraud, that he has a lot of money, he owns a lot of land. But like I said earlier, 90 acres, first of all, is not that much, but you can also go on his YouTube and see his property yourself. He's not producing anything on this land. It doesn't look like that. I mean, obviously I haven't been there. It doesn't look like he's producing anything on this land. He says that it's his dream to have livestock. I believe that is not happening right now. But either way, the country is absolutely swarming over Oliver Anthony. He is everywhere. His song went to #1 on the iTunes chart, making all of the current country artists have to move over for a second. John Rich, who is a country artist, songwriter, and previous member of Lone Star, has offered to produce his entire album. And not just that, but Dan Bongino, I always want to switch that and say Don Bongino. Dan Bongino has offered to handle all of the distribution. So this is huge. He is someone to absolutely keep an eye on. I reached out to him to see if he would do an interview with Roots Music History. If I hear back from him, you guys will be the first to know. But in the meantime, check out his channel and some of his other songs. Knowing his story now, and knowing about his struggle with alcohol and his struggle with mental health, go ahead and take a look at some of his other songs. I disagree with him on one major thing, and that is that he is not a good artist. He says in his video, moving forward, that he's not a good musician, that he barely knows his way around a guitar, his singing is okay. I disagree, like wholeheartedly. He is an incredible artist. And I think his biggest challenge now is going to be admitting that he is good and he has the potential to go very, very far with this. And, I had a coach once. I did gymnastics for years. And my coach said to me, God's gift to you is your talent, but your gift back to God is using that talent. And I think that he is going to have to realize that he has this talent. And I really hope that he channels it and he moves with it and he embraces it. And he realizes that this was given to him by God. And now it's up to him to give back to God and to give back to this world and to use that talent and to move forward. I really hope he doesn't kind of hibernate after all of this, because I could see how you could want to. So I'm really praying for him that he gets good direction, good advice. He finds a team that he likes, that have good intentions. And I am really excited to see what comes of this. And Oliver Anthony, if you are ever in Nashville, Tennessee, you know who to call. You know who to reach out to. And that is me at Roots Music History, because I would love to speak to you. And another story that is really cool is the Tyler Childers story. I think it's Childers. I hope it's not Childers. If I get this wrong, I know I'm going to get a lot of comments correcting me. So please correct me. Actually, just don't correct me. Just tell me how to say it so that I know I'm saying it right. But I think Tyler is actually in Nashville. So I'm not familiar with his story. His story is something I'm going to be looking up next. And in the meantime, any more information that comes out about Oliver Anthony, I will post to the channel. So make sure you subscribe and check out the most recent documentary that I did as well. Usually I cover the stories behind songs and artists. I cover legends as well as new up-and-coming artists, which I call history in the making, quote unquote. But the most recent video that I did is about a 619-year-old tree that was actually one of George Washington's trees. If you've ever been to Mount Vernon, or if you've ever studied George Washington, you know that George Washington had this love and appreciation for trees. There are some very famous paintings of George Washington praying in the woods underneath his, quote, trees. He had several horses and hunting dogs. He spent a lot of time in the wooded areas. And one of these trees was on his field hospital that was also right next to a church. This tree was actually referred to as the Holy Oak. People would preach underneath this tree for years and years and years. An analysis of the tree dated it back to being planted in 1398. But it's just an incredible story. And now the tree actually died, but they are making guitars from the wood of that tree. It is absolutely incredible and extremely inexplicable because white oak typically wouldn't sound that good on a guitar. But every single guitar that is made from this white oak sounds absolutely incredible. And it's so counterintuitive. And it's just an amazing story. So check out that documentary. I just posted it. I spent like 2 months working on that. So I hope that you love the story as much as I do. And like I said, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. You'll be notified every time I post a new video. And if podcasts are more your style, I am also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Roots Music History. And until then, go on and listen to Oliver Anthony. And I will see you on the next Roots Rockumentary.
Hungry for the road all my life, thirsty for adventure all my youth, chasing all my freedoms down Liberty Avenue.